This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. If I join the association, Yun Xiao said, will I be able to see Xiao Xue? Zhu Jingyi quickly nodded his head and said, of course you can. However, Ying Luo, Sister Xiao Xue will only meet with everyone. If you want to get closer to Sister Xiao Xue, you have to become a high-ranking member of our organization. How can I become a senior member? Yun Xiao asked. How can I become a senior member? Zhu Jingyi smiled and said, as long as you have enough contributions or abilities, you can choose one of the two. To become an officer, one must either have the cultivation of a martial honor or earn 10 million mid-grade primordial stones for the organization. Yun Xiao's face immediately darkened. This was not a fan club, but an out-and-out cult. Suddenly, a doo-doo sound rang out in the courtyard. It was short and hurried, and it was very disturbing. Zhu Jingyi's expression changed and he said in surprise, it's a summoning signal. Maybe Sister Xiao Xue is here. Go and take a look. You're really lucky. With a flash of his fat body, he was so agile that he went to one of the halls without paying attention to Yun Xiao. Since Yun Xiao was here, he might as well see what kind of person Jiang Ruobing's maidservant was. Perhaps he could use this as a breakthrough point. He followed the fat man, Zhu Jingyi, into the hall. Right above them, a man was playing a small flute-like musical instrument. He compressed his vital qi into the instrument, producing a great vibration effect that could be heard by everyone in the large courtyard. Soon, more than 100 people gathered in the hall, making it seem a little cramped. Yun Xiao spread out his divine sense and found that most of them were martial emperors, and all of them were young, with looks of anticipation on their faces. There were a few older men sitting arrogantly at the top, their faces full of pride. They were the so-called administrators. Only 4 of them were martial honors, and the other 3 were probably promoted because they had contributed more primordial stones. The person who played the flute was clearly also an administrator. When he felt that there were enough people, he stopped playing the flute and said loudly, please welcome Big Brother Xinghua and Big Sister Little Snow. Pa pa pa. The crowd gave a round of applause. A handsome man walked out from the back hall with a smile on his face and made an inviting gesture. A woman in plaid clothes came out right after, also smiling from ear to ear. The two seemed to be having a very happy conversation. Yun Xiao's eyes almost fell out of his head. This wasn't a little snow, it was a snowball. If not for the fat man, Zhu Jingyi, who was right beside him, he would have thought that Zhu Jingyi had gone up the stage. The fat man beside him looked at the stage with bright eyes and revealed a look of worship. Yun Xiao's face darkened, and a great doubt grew in his heart, is this snowball really a maidservant? How could he serve Miss with such a body? Yun Xiao sized him up and thought, she probably couldn't even bend her waist, right? Yan Xinghua, who was on the stage, was obviously the leader of this fan club. He was also a 7-stars martial supreme. Judging from his age, he could be considered a genius, but he was far from the top of the mainland. If they really wanted to go up the arena to compete for a spouse, it was indeed not enough for those great aristocratic families to look at. Yan Xinghua raised his hand to signal for the applause to stop. He smiled. Welcome, Sister Xiao Xue, to our Ice Block fan club again. This time, we have Goddess Ruobing's consoling and well wishes. When everyone heard this, they were all excited and shouted, Little Snow, Goddess. Zhu Jingyi's blood was also boiling as he shouted, Goddess, Goddess. For the sake of Goddess Ruobing and Sister Xiao Xue, we're willing to go through fire and water. That snowball also laughed until her facial features were all gone. It was impossible to tell if her mouth was open or not. Only her chuckling voice could be heard as she said, Miss asked me to say hello to everyone. Thank you for your support and love for our Miss. Miss Ruobing also likes everyone very much. Awoo. Zhu Jingyi suddenly howled like a wolf, instantly pushing the atmosphere to a peak. Everyone was shouting madly, as if they had gone crazy. Yun Xiao frowned. Under his divine sense, he found that these people were very normal, and there was no mental damage or evil spell. Were they really fanatical fans? Snowball was so happy that it could not close its mouth. In fact, Yunxiao did not know if she had opened her mouth, but it was all fat anyway. However, Miss has been very distressed because of a matter recently. She doesn't have time to eat or drink. All the voices suddenly quieted down. The administrator who had gathered everyone with his flute stood up and said in a deep voice, "Sister Xiaoxue, please tell us what exactly is troubling Goddess Ruobing. As long as we, the Ice Block fan group, can do our best, we will do it even if we have to die 1,000 times." "Yes, what is it? Even if it costs you 10,000 lives." The crowd also echoed and shouted. Snowball was touched. "Thank you, everyone. If Lady Ruobing knew that you were such loyal subjects, she would definitely be touched. Have you all heard of the Silver Moon Clan?" Everyone frowned and began to discuss in low voices. It seemed that many people had some understanding of this sect. Yan Xinghua made a silent gesture and said, "The Silver Moon sect is a well-known sect in the eastern region. Most of them are female cultivators, and it is said that they have a despicable dual cultivation technique, which uses men and women to achieve the purpose of cultivation. I don't know if it is true or not." "That's right," Big Sister Snowball said with a straight face. Furthermore, the young master of the Silver Moon Clan, Nalan Jishuan, has also come to the Red Moon City and wants to participate in the young ladies' groom search competition. Yan Xinghua's face was filled with anger. How can we let such an evil person fight in the arena? However, why does the name Nalan Jishuan sound like a woman's? That Nalan Jishuan is a woman. Fat Sister Snowball said angrily. This was also the reason why the young miss was so angry. Red Moon City's announcement to the world about the joust for a spouse was slightly negligent. It only required young talents under the age of 30 and did not state that it must be a man. That Nalan Jishuan took advantage of this loophole, so everyone knows what it means. Everyone swallowed a mouthful of saliva and was rendered speechless for a moment. They could only feel erotic scenes flashing through their minds, two peerless beauties in light gauze and thin clothes. Cough cough. Yan Xinghua coughed a few times and said, "Nalan Jishuan is too much. I heard that she's also a stunning beauty. We will never allow such a waste of resources to happen. Sister Xiaoxue, please tell us what we should do." Chubby Sister Snowball smiled and said, "Miss has already inquired about Nalan Jishuan's residence in the Red Moon City. I hope everyone can help Miss solve this problem." Yan Xinghua revealed a knowing smile. "Sister Xiaoxue, please go back and tell Goddess Ruobing that the Ice Block fan club will definitely help her complete this task." The fat on Big Sister Snowball's face twitched. "Then I'll have to trouble everyone. I'll definitely report everything that Big Brother Xinghua and everyone else has done for the young lady." Yan Xinghua and the rest of the secretaries quickly became humble. Big Sister Snowball seemed to be very happy. She didn't stay any longer and left after giving everyone some encouragement. The hall was filled with discussions about the Silver Moon Clan. Everyone had their own opinions. Yan Xinghua's eyes swept across the room. "Everyone, what we have to do is clear. That Nalan Jishuan must stop her from participating in the joust for a spouse festival. Otherwise, it would be unacceptable. Leave this to us, the Ice Cube." Under his lead, everyone was full of fighting spirit. They rushed out of the hall with a look that they would not hesitate to go through fire and water for their goddess. Yunxiao stood there in shock. It would be too nonsensical to follow her. His divine sense had already sensed the direction in which the fat Sister Snowball was heading, and it was pointing to the City Lord's mansion of Red Moon City, which was indeed a member of the Jiang family. However, he also noticed a detail. Even though Big Sister Snowball was riding a south-pointing chariot, the height it was flying at was far beyond the allowed range. It seemed that this person could really be Jiang Ruobing's servant girl. "Brother, hurry up and leave." Zhu Jingyi patted Yunxiao's shoulder heavily and cried out, "This is a good opportunity to make a great contribution. If you can perform well, not only will you be promoted to an officer, but you will also be invited to the City Lord's mansion to meet Goddess Ruobing." "What?" Yunxiao asked in surprise. There's such an opportunity? Has anyone been there? Of course. Zhu Jingyi said proudly, we're the most loyal fan club under Goddess Ruobing. Brother Yan Xinghua and a few other secretaries have been summoned by Goddess Ruobing before. What an honor it is. Just thinking about it makes my blood boil. Zhu Jingyi didn't say anything and pulled him along with the rest of the team. Although the management of the Red Moon City was strict, all kinds of grudges and enmities had never stopped. The city lord's office would not step in to deal with this kind of matter. They were only responsible for the safety of the Red Moon City and the safety of some innocent people. After all, ordinary mortals made up the largest population base, and they were all under the protection of the three big families of the Red Moon City. Yan Xinghua threw out a 7th-grade Golden Sun battleship. It was slightly damaged, but it was still very impressive. Hundreds of people boarded the chariot and headed for the Silver Moon clan. Yunxiao noticed that there was a permit sign of Red Moon City on the Golden Sun warship, which allowed it to fly independently without any restrictions. However, it still tried to control its flight altitude to a low point. Soon, it arrived above a building, which blocked the sunlight and cast a shadow on it. The cultivators in the building below seemed to have sensed something, and a few figures rushed out directly. They were all young women, each of them had graceful figures and extraordinary looks, all of them were carefully selected existences. Who dares to circle in the sky above my Silver Moon clan? Quickly come down. A woman shouted softly, her face full of anger. Humph, the sky above your Silver Moon clan? This is the Red Moon City, the entire sky belongs to the Red Moon City, where is your Silver Moon sect? Let's go. Yan Xinghua shouted and turned into a ray of light. Hundreds of martial artists also moved out and surrounded the entire building. The expressions of the 4 female disciples of the Silver Moon sect changed drastically. These people in front of them weren't weak, and each of them had a fierce look in their eyes. They sized them up from head to toe with ill intentions, causing the 4 of them to feel scared. May I know who you are? Could it be that my Silver Moon clan has offended you in some way? A melodious voice rang out like music, warming everyone's hearts and making them feel like they were bathing in a spring breeze. The murderous aura around them was immediately reduced by more than half by this voice. Yunxiao was a little surprised. There was no enchantment in the voice, but it had a natural seductive effect. It seemed that Nailan Jixuan was either talented or had cultivated the cultivation technique of the Silver Moon clan to a certain realm. Nailan Jixuan, what are you here for? Yan Xinghua snorted. Are you here for the goddess Jiang Ruobing? A faint and beautiful figure flashed in the sky, and a sweet fragrance came over. A figure in white appeared in front of everyone, and her every frown and smile revealed a soul-stirring temperament. It was Nailan Jixuan. She stared at everyone and asked in confusion, I'm here for Sister Ruobing, what's wrong with that? Yunxiao's pupils constricted. Nailan Jixuan was actually an 8 stars martial supreme, and her body was slender and alluring, and her every move was filled with tenderness and love. Obviously, she was not an ordinary person. Although she was sleeping soundly and her face was as smooth as cream, at a glance, an expert could tell that she was still a virgin. She was definitely not cultivating some evil technique that allowed men and women to have sex, as Fat Sister Snowball had said. As expected. Do you think it's inappropriate? Yan Xinghua's face broke into an evil smile. Now, we're officially inviting you to come with us. We'll let you out after the joust for a spouse festival is over. During this period of time, we brothers will serve you well. Nailan Jixuan didn't know what Yan Xinghua meant by serve, but she was immediately enraged. She snapped, shameless brat, you deserve to die. She attacked in an instant. A long sword was unsheathed and stabbed towards Yan Xinghua. She could tell at a glance that this person was the leader of the group and the most powerful one. That was why she wanted to capture the leader first. The sword chi immediately created a vacuum. The people around did not dare to face it and scattered. Yan Xinghua retreated. With a flash of white light, a blade emerged from his hand to block the attack. His cultivation was 1 star lower than Nailan Jixuan's, so he didn't dare to be careless. He attacked with all his strength and shouted in the air, "Let's go together. For the goddess. For the goddess." Everyone roared and rushed towards the four women and the building as if they had taken drugs. The martial supremes helped Yan Xinghua deal with Neilin Jishuan. The scene of a group fight with hundreds of people unfolded in an instant. Several figures flew out of the building again. This time, there were four men, whose strength was only at the initial stage of martial honor. "Humph, it's indeed a place to hide filth." Yan Xinghua cursed sarcastically. All kinds of unpleasant words came out of his mouth one by one. The saber in his hand became fiercer and fiercer, forcing Neilin Jishuan to be on the defensive. With the fierce attacks of several executives, she was suddenly at a disadvantage. After a few moves, Neilin Jishuan was in danger again and again. How could she not know that the other party's curses were to disturb her mind? However, those words were really unpleasant to hear. Moreover, he used a certain sound wave attack, which directly entered her ears. She was so embarrassed that her face was red, and her hands were in constant danger. The other 100 or so people had also defeated the four female disciples in an instant. Fortunately, the four men who attacked later were all martial venerables. With just a look at their domains, they could suppress almost everyone, forcing the few people who were besieging Neilin Jishuan to separate and deal with them. This made the situation for the better for Neilin Jishuan. Yun Xiao could already tell that this ice organization was by no means a good person. On the contrary, although the people of the Silver Moon clan all had evil enchantment on their faces, they looked much more upright. Finally, just as Neilin Jishuan was in danger, he flicked his finger and a bolt of lightning shot out. Before anyone could react, it struck Yan Xinghua's blade, causing it to tremble. The blade tilted and missed the killing intent. Yan Xinghua was shocked. He quickly pulled out his blade and put it in front of him to defend himself. He was afraid that the person in the dark would attack him. He shouted angrily, "Who is it? Who was it? Get the hell out here." Neilin Jishuan, on the other hand, was still in a state of shock. If it weren't for someone's help, even if she didn't die under the knife, she would have been seriously injured and captured by the other party. She looked around gratefully, trying to find her benefactor, but she couldn't see him. She could only thank him in the air. Jishuan, thank you for saving me, sir." "It's nothing. Little sister Jishuan, you don't have to be so polite." A response came from the sky, followed by a ray of light. A young master appeared in the sky and slowly descended. He had a full smile on his face and was waving a feather fan in his hand. Yun Xiao was speechless. He was the one who did it, but there were still so many shameless people in the world. It seemed that this guy was not a good person. So it's one of the 7-star children of the eastern region, Shimin Jinling. Neilin Jishuan was overjoyed and quickly thanked him. "Thank you, young master Shimin. Jishuan is very lucky to have you to save her." The 7-star children of the eastern region were like the 4 prodigies of the north region. They were the 7 strongest people among the younger generation. Although they might not be the strongest, they were at least well-known figures and lived up to their names. Shimin Jinlin was secretly proud of himself for being praised, and he said humbly, No, little sister Jishuan, you're too kind." Yan Xinghua's expression darkened. "Shimin Jinling, you have to think it over," he said. "Humph." Shimin Jinling's face was full of contempt as he mocked, "What's there to worry about when dealing with trash like you?" He flipped his feather fan and smacked Yan Xinghua with a single move. His aura was so strong that it suppressed the other party. Yan Xinghua was so shocked and angry that he didn't dare to take it head-on. With a light tap of his foot, he retreated. Shimin Jinling's confidence and momentum increased after he forced his opponent to retreat with one move. He sneered, "Jumping clown, I'll take your life within 10 moves." The purpose of his visit was for Neilin Jishuan, but he didn't expect that the heavens would give him a chance to save the damsel in distress. He was overjoyed. Moreover, his opponent's strength was already like an arrow at the end of its flight after the battle with Neilin Jishuan. This was a great opportunity for him to show off. Therefore, in addition to being fierce, he tried to choose those martial skills that looked graceful and heroic. Gold and White Jade by Songs and Laugh, The Moon is Light When Drunk. Shimin Jinlin opened his feather fan and pressed forward, forcing Yan Xinghua into a corner. He laughed proudly. I don't need 10 moves. It seems like this move will do. Yan Xinghua was shocked. The power of the fan had sealed off all his escape routes. The pressure alone was enough to suffocate him. He felt his scalp go numb. He roared and raised his saber to fight back. Bang! The two of them shook their weapons, and a force spread out from the center. Shimin Jinlin's expression suddenly changed as he felt an indescribable pressure falling on him like a mountain. The power of his fan instantly collapsed. The force didn't reduce and directly hit his chest. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. He fell in front of Nalan Jishuan's feet like a dog. Young Master Shimin, are you all right? Nalan Jishuan was shocked and quickly went forward to help him. Shimin Jinlin's internal organs were damaged as a large amount of vital qi entered his body. He coughed up blood and shouted, I'm fine. He trembled as he stood up, trying his best to make his posture more elegant. What's going on? How did this person suddenly become so strong? Shimin Jinling and Nalan Jishuan were both shocked. Yan Xinghua also stood there in a daze. He couldn't figure out how he had managed to injure Shimin Jinlin, who was at the peak of 8 stars martial supreme, with a single slash. He looked around in a daze. Other than the newly joined 5 stars sect, there was no one else behind him. Yunxiao sneered in his heart, you'll be struck by lightning for acting tough. It seems like the heavens are helping me. Yan Xinghua laughed hysterically. Nalan Jishuan, let's see who else will come to save you. You can give me the primordial yin qi that you've cultivated with your wonderful nascent embryo technique. He raised his saber again and slashed. The saber qi drew a long rainbow in the air and directly covered the two of them. Nalan Jishuan's face turned pale. She was invited to the Red Moon City just to have a heart-to-heart talk with her good sister, Jiang Ruobing. She didn't have any experts to protect her. She didn't expect that she would be intercepted and killed, and it was for her qi of origin. This made her even more ashamed and angry. The Silver Moon Sect's wonderful girl origin technique was the most suitable for women to cultivate, especially women with a yin body. If a woman cultivated it to the maximum level and slept with a man for the first time, she would give a trace of her origin embryo to the other party, which would bring unimaginable benefits to the other party's cultivation. Therefore, the Silver Moon clan's female disciples were resources that all the major sects on the continent would go after like a flock of ducks. The development of the clan also benefited from these female disciples to a certain extent. Nalan Jishuan, on the other hand, had a primordial yin body. After she mastered the wonderful girl nascent embryo technique, she could bring immeasurable benefits to her husband. She could even let a martial honor directly break through to the martial supreme realm. Therefore, she had always been regarded as the most precious treasure of the sect. Usually, the elders of the sect would follow her and protect her. She did not expect that this would be the only time she had no one following her. If her origin core was taken away, not to mention the sect would treat her like dirt, even she herself would not be able to live in humiliation. Shimin Jinlin suddenly shouted. He didn't know where he got the strength from, but he immediately jumped up and tried to escape. He kept shouting, "Little sister Jishuan, I'll call for someone to save you and take revenge for you." He originally came to get close to Nalan Jishuan, but at this moment, his life was obviously more important. Since the other party's target was Nalan Jishuan, they would not chase after him. Nalan Jishuan was stunned for a moment, and a trace of bitterness and confusion appeared in her eyes. Was this man really the one who saved her just now?